The main thing that I struggled with at the time with your ADHD was your mood swings.
Well, what was I like?
If you're in a room, people know about it.
Loud.
You're quite loud, but in a good way. So when you're up, everyone is up. When you're down, everyone's down.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
In studio sessions and stuff, that would be quite difficult. Hello, my name is Harley Sulé. I am a musician and a writer, and I'm one half of Rizzle Kicks. I'm a very good friend of Jordan's, and we're here to talk to him about his ADHD. Hello. You okay?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. You look nice.
Oh, thanks. No one said that yet.
Really?
So I've brought you here because I've been speaking to people about their experiences of ADHD. Everyone's at different stages, at different ages. The way ADHD has overlapped their life varies. So some people have had ADHD show up with forms of addiction. Some people have had ADHD. A diagnosis help them work around anxiety, be more productive with their work. You know, there'll be people who have had overlapping of ADHD and autism. There's all these variations.
Yeah.
But we wanted to find somebody in my life close to me to, I guess, give reflections of what you observe of ADHD.
It's interesting for me, like, I keep coming up, like, more and more people in my life have ADHD, but I guess you're kind of like the pinnacle of all that. And like, it's been amazing, like, watching you grow through your different stages of ADHD. I think me as well, like, watching myself learn how to, like, kind of not handle it, but like address it in certain situations. Now I understand it better. There's not many parts of it where I see that negatively affect you or me or our relationship, which is an amazing thing. I think you've done really well to work through a lot of stuff. There's never been a world where I didn't know that Jordan had ADHD.
Did we know what ADHD was though?
I think the difference is that when we were 18, we just thought ADHD was like, you're just hyper.
Yes, that's so true.
Like, I probably would get annoyed at you for taking so long to leave the house.
Yeah.
Or I'd get annoyed at you for not responding. The main thing that I could remember that I really struggled with at the time with your ADHD was your mood swings.
Well, what was I like?
Because you're a big character anyway, and you're good at kind of like controlling rooms and like being kind of, not like the center of attention, but if you're in a room, people know about it, basically.
Loud.
You're quite loud, but in a good way. You know,
I
you know
what
you
you're
know.
saying.
So when you're up, everyone is up. When you're down, everyone's down.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
And I remember being like in studio sessions and stuff, that would be quite difficult because I'm like managing a situation within itself where I'm like, what vibe is Jordan on right now? How long do I have before he goes into like a down period? Or how long do I have him in this up period for? And I remember that was quite a tricky one. You were a lot younger, you were like 20, you know, but you were like quite sensitive in those moments. And it was finding ways of like finding comfortability in those silences.
I'd go quiet.
You'd go really quiet, yeah. You'd go super quiet. And it was a combination of like, maybe you're like really hyper focusing on something, or you'd had like loads of sugar. Yeah. So you just like
crashing off sugar,
crashing hard. But like the hyper focusing thing is like when you would catch on to something negative in your life, that was when it was quite difficult because it was like, that was 5 hours of the day done. But I actually remember the first time I ever experienced the mood swing thing, and it baffed me hard. Because like, I'd only ever known you to be like super hyper talkative, chatty, We were still living in Brighton at the time, so we must have been 16, 17. And we got a session in London with some producer. And I was like, I remember being so excited to go to this session. And then like, we like didn't speak all day. And I was just like, I remember going back to my girlfriend at the time being like, I don't know what's happened, but like, I don't know if Jordan is like on this music thing with me anymore, or
really?
I don't think he's like in a good place. I don't know, but I remember experiencing it and being like baffed. And then like slowly but surely learning, okay, this is what's going on. It's when I saw it around like other people, or if other people were in our space and then it would happen, I'd be like, all right, it's not like a thing against me.
If that is an ADHD thing, that's one thing that I feel most burdened by, for sure. Like, I hate the fact that I'd bring a mood down around me. And there's been times where that's really sucked because I need to have people around me who can pull me back up. Do you know what I mean?
But like now, like I don't see that anymore. The mood swings don't happen anymore. And I don't know what changed that. Like, do you know what in you changed that? Do you feel like that's changed?
It's weird thinking back to being 20 or that early stage because I can't really remember anything in my body from that time. I can't remember like being in my body, but I can remember choices. Like when you talk about sugar, I'm thinking like, yeah, when we first got signed, we both would just eat what we wanted. So we'd like go to the studio and I'd have like a fat bottle of like energy drink, and I love chocolate bars, and we'd be having chocolate bars and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'd ride that up. And then I do remember, having like these kind of cataclysmic. But as I've got older, I've made some quite obvious changes in my life, which 10 years later, 12 years later, or and everything in between, I guess it's had some positive effect. And those changes would be, I've gone sober. I've been sober 6 years. A big reason why I went sober was aside of the fact that it kept, you know, ruining most of my intimate relationships if I was getting drunk too much. I find it really difficult to regulate myself in the days after being drunk. And all the stuff I found out since, you know, in terms of how long the body takes to balance itself out. I mean, you've had your experiences of that with anxiety. So it's just, the inflammation of brain discomfort in the wake of drinking. I wanted to get rid of that. You know, a healthy relationship with exercise. And then, like, say with sugar, like, listen, I eat sugar, I still, but I'm definitely a healthy person. And then other little things like having dogs, the fact that if I have the morning free, I'm almost certainly walking for a minimum half an hour every morning. That, I think, is one of those secret ones, sneaky ones where it seems normal. Oh, you have a dog, you take him on a walk. And I'm like, nah, mate. Like, there are doctors out there now for things like depression or other things that people report where they'll go, go for a walk. And they'll be like, what do you mean go for a walk? It's like, it is game changing. Sometimes I won't have the dogs. I'll be like away and I think, why am I off? And I feel like, you know what? I'm just going to walk. I won't even need the dogs. Just go for a walk in the morning, half an hour.
Yeah. Clear the head.
Yeah. So I guess I have a responsibility to myself and the people around me, to my community, and I think everyone does, to look at my own patterns of behavior and ask myself if I'm happy with all of those patterns. And obviously with something like drinking, it was clear cut. If I keep acting like this, then I have to change something. So attempting to make choices before that will help me be more balanced. For example, big thing for me is tidying, cleaning, which is hilarious with us because you have suspected OCD, which is almost an antithesis of
literally,
a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me, and I started looking it up. Why am I struggling with this? How do I work around it? And when I literally saw these, you know, qualified professionals explain what was the struggle was, I'm seeing that same stress level or those same patterns with other people, you know, mess becoming invisible. The other day I saw another guy.
The invisible mess thing is mad, but
you see the opposite of it.
Yeah, I know, I do.
You only see mess.
All I can see. It's literally all I can see.
Imagine how tough that is to explain to someone like you, like you'll know in a certain amount of time that's going to get worse, so I'm going to do it now. We'll be like, no, we'll let that get to maximum wildness, and then we sort it.
And is that because you want to do something else? Or?
Yeah. It's to do like the reward center of the brain. Like for me, I can exist in mess and chaos because I would prefer to like write something or watch something, and I feel like I'm building that part of me. Like I literally prioritize creation over tidiness. Whereas loads of people say I can't create unless it's tidy first. Like I have to clear up so then I can be creative.
Yeah, that's me, 100%.
If I go to someone's house and the house is messy, I don't care. I couldn't care less. I wouldn't go into someone's house and start judging them based on how messy it was. I really would not. I would judge them based on whether or not they made me a cup of tea and asked me philosophical questions.
I don't want to judge anyone. I hate that thought. But if I go into someone's house where it's messy,
you'll want to clean it.
Bro, I've done it recently.
Yeah. No,
bro, I took my mate's bins out the other day.
Is this someone who you'd suspect of ADHD? Or is it someone...
They have ADHD.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
well, they've told me they have ADHD, So I get it. I understand. And like his explanation of why he leaves it there now I understand it better, made so much sense to me.
Yeah.
So like me taking out the bins, it wasn't me being like, oh, this is disgusting. This was me going, I understand your predicament right now. Will it make your life a bit easier if I just do this for you right now? And it was just like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So that's something that I feel like I've gotten better at, is understanding those quirks, you know, and understanding like when to react to certain things. I wanted to like talk a bit more about like how we work in the studio now.
Okay.
We're so productive these days.
Are we?
Yeah, bro.
I thought we used to be more productive.
Nah, this is where you're in your head about it. I think that now you hyper focus on the right things.
Okay.
That's the best way I can maybe describe it. I think back in the day, this is definitely something that switched. Is like we do a song for a long time. which would be great in some respects, and we get a song done or whatever, but it would mean that we'd spend a long time on one thing. Now it's like, let's get the idea down, let's go. And I think that's a massive benefit. And it was really noticeable when there was one period of our writing process where we were doing a lot of like finishing songs and like going from like one thing to the next, and then coming back and finishing it. And I think like that's made us so much more productive in the studio. And it's like, I'm feeding off of that.
Oh,
I think a lot of people just like, I want to finish this song, where you're just like, we've got that. That's not going there. Let's go. Let's move on to another thing.
Cool.
And I think that's really great because like, you're right, like that song will exist now.
Yeah.
And we can go back to it and finish it. But we may never get a chance to create something else. This thing that we're about to create, we may never get that opportunity again. Yeah. Do you know what is interesting as well is that you seem a lot more calm these days as well. Do you feel more calm?
Yeah. 100% I feel more calm. 1,000 gazillion million percent I feel more calm. One of the things I've had recently is that, as I said to you the other day, I've kind of been playing with like a very diluted version of my medication recently because of all the things I think I've got better at. So communication, actually, I really struggle to keep up with messages, but I try and reply straight away as much as possible. Probably more balanced in the studio. I do clean now. Like I just have to do certain things to make that whole process easier for me. I think I'm slightly more punctual. Like I am late, but
I was gonna say that. Yeah. I think that's a big thing that's changed.
I have to basically tell myself it's an hour before what it is.
Yeah. Oftentimes I won't. If I'm running late, I won't tell you.
Yeah, that's the killer. If someone says I'm running late,
that
I haven't
messes
left
the whole situation.
I'm 2 hours late.
Yeah, that messes everything.
Because I need to be on that wave. That's actually such a good point.
Like oftentimes you're actually there before me these days.
Yeah, because if I ride the first wave, then I'm like there.
Yeah.
But like the first wave seems early. If something breaks my attention in that early phase, then who knows how long it will take me to get there.
But I've seen you do circles.
What, when in my house trying to leave?
Yeah. Well, when we like lived together.
It stresses me out even thinking about that.
We used to live together and it would be like one room to the other room, to the other room, to the other room. And it's like our people outside being like, yo, we've got to go like now. And you're like, yeah, but I need to do these things.
I can't lie, I still do that.
Do you?
I still do that, but it probably doesn't last as long. I do actually think that being heartbroken helped a lot. I feel like I came out of the other side of heartbreak and was like I felt like I was living from the neck up for a long time in my life, and I would constantly be da-da-da. That's what I mean when I think about myself in the past, in my early 20s. For me, it feels like there's a disconnect. Whereas now, I'm more aware of like how a potential situation can alter my body. So I'll know if I'm getting riled up about something, or I'll have an awareness creep in where I think, oh, maybe this is too intense, or maybe I can step back for a second. I think that's probably just experience, you know.
But that also lines up with being sober as well.
Yeah, and just like if I'm making choices, healthy choices, well, I know that's subjective, but reasonably healthy choices for a long period of time, I think the way my body works will be something more towards harmonious, you know. Also, being committed to a relationship and having that security of that person around me is incredibly calming. I don't know what the research is around ADHD and love and whatever else, but my God, you know, and my girlfriend doesn't have ADHD, so I'm picking up from her what I can that will help me. Yeah. And then there'll be some elements of my ADHD that are probably really motivating.
Well, that's what I always say to people is like, as much, because we're literally like the antithesis of each other in terms of our outward appearance in that sense. But there's times when I need to come out of my shell. And I think a lot of people will always say like, oh, it's so good that Jordan has you around because you're able to like bring him down or whatever, which is great. But I don't think anyone ever considers like, oh, maybe sometimes I need to be brought up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really important as well because like, you know, with my anxiety and stuff, like I often struggle to like come out of my shell in certain social situations. But like, even if you like intentionally are acting on it, your kind of energy brings me up. And that's amazing. Because,
which I love.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I actually really wanted to ask you this because I don't think I've asked you this personally before, but it's come up when we've discussed Rizzle Kicks coming back because the public understanding of the reason why we stopped, like the most practical reason was because you suffered from quite severe stage anxiety and we cancelled the tour and we were like, you know, we're not doing this. And a lot of the time it crops up, people go, well, you were touring for 4 or 5 years. Why was it then that Harley suddenly got the stage anxiety? And I've always said, well, in those early years, surely on paper, if you had a crippling anxiety, the ultimate plaster would be some hyperactive person running around in front of you because it's distracting you from what's going on in yourself.
100%.
So I get to finally ask you, was my hyperactivity and kind of completely off the rails energy approach to life actually delaying an inevitable relation?
You might, like, you could be completely right.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember even like when we were on stage and stuff, like, as much as I'd get involved, like, you were really good at just like chatting on the spot, talking to the crowd, like whatever. But then there were times where, I don't know, you'd go off stage, like change your t-shirt because you got sweaty or something. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
like, what the hell do I say right now? Don't get me wrong, I didn't feel like nervous necessarily, but I was just like stumped. And I think like that was the first time I ever experienced like stage anxiety was without you. And when I was performing with this other project that I did, and all of a sudden the whole room was looking at me.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought to think whether that was developed because I was spending so much time with you, or if that was always there prior to that. Because I think about, like, you know, I always wanted to be an actor, and I was always like good on stage. I never had any kind of like issue with it then. But then maybe because we spent such a long time with that kind of like dynamic in our relationship where you were kind of the more outward, outspoken one and I was the more like reserved one, that maybe that I became more reliant on that to like stay grounded and stuff. So yeah, I've actually never really thought about it properly.
I think that the potential to have a relationship with performance anxiety was always going to happen, but maybe you would have been able to deal with it in like a less intense situation because you wouldn't have been a pop star.
Maybe I would have been a pop
star. So I've come about and been like, la, 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 and you're like, oh, okay. And then like your first meeting with something that was always there is like the whole industry waiting to see you perform.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what the fuck? This is wild.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas me on the flip side, you know, I was kicked onto stage by my mum when I was like 7. So I don't know what that my thing is. I overcompensate for my fear.
It's a really interesting thought, and like, but what comforts me now is that like when we do start really making music again, that I don't have to fully rely on myself to like overcome certain anxieties and whatnot. Like something like this, even doing this today, 3-4 years ago, I would have tried to like find a way out of it.
Yeah, I remember.
If I'd accepted it, I would have just been like terrified. I'd get here, I'd be sitting here like shaking.
I remember.
Now, I didn't even think about this until I arrived.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which maybe sounds like flippant or a bit rude, but like that's for me such a big,
huge
thing, because to have a situation where I'm put under the spotlight essentially and not make it seem like some grand thing is really like such a big progression. I think that has happened massively in coalition with us working together again properly, like making music again and spending so much time together.
Yeah, I've talked about it as a two-way thing. That it's not like there are many situations where your grounded approach to life is sobering and essential for me. So that's a two-way thing for sure. Just to wrap it up, because we obviously could talk for a long time, but I'm actually late for an ADHD appointment.
That's jokes.
Do you feel as though your relationship with me has given you more of an insight and a deeper empathy for people who might be struggling with ADHD? And do you think that life can be easier if people are more informed by it?
I mean, the first thing is just like to try and talk to as many people as possible and just let them know that like ADHD isn't just someone who's like really hyperactive. Yeah. Because that's like super important, which I think so many people don't understand. Yeah. Obviously working in the creative industries, I have so many people around me who have ADHD or assumed ADHD that like they bring now just like so much like joy to my life because I understand it so much more. Yeah, sick. The little quirks, the little things, it like all the positives like way outshine the negatives of it. And like, I don't even think those like negatives are necessarily bad. They're just like the things that people don't fully understand the situation.
Unless you make a right mess of things.
I'm all right. But no, I love it.
All right, bro. Thank you so much. Big love. Well, we're going to start MTV Faces Anxiety series, which you'll be presenting next year. I think.
Love it. Cool.
Big love, man. Love. I've got to rush this appointment.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll see you in the canteen.
Yeah, in a bit.